Buried beneath the golden sands of Egypt, beyond the towering pyramids and forgotten tombs, a secret has been whispering through time. For centuries, scholars, explorers, and conspiracy theorists have debated a single haunting question. Who were the true Egyptians? Were they an isolated civilization, or the crossroads of ancient worlds? Every scroll, every carving, every crumbling mummy has offered hints, but no answers. Until now. In 2025, deep inside a locked vault in Cairo's Museum of Antiquities, a team of geneticists unlocked the most forbidden box in Egyptian archaeology: preserved DNA from royal mummies, untouched by modern contamination. It wasn't just any DNA. It came from the bloodlines of pharaohs, priests, and queens long thought to be mythical. What they discovered shattered everything we thought we knew. Lineages older than the pyramids. Genetic fingerprints tracing paths no historian ever imagined. And, most shockingly, origins that rewrite not just Egyptian history, but human history itself. For the first time ever, science has cracked the ancient genetic code of Egypt's rulers. The truth was hidden in their blood, and it leads far away from the Nile. Could the real origin of ancient Egypt lie in a place no one expected? And if so, why was it kept secret for thousands of years? For millennia, the civilization of ancient Egypt has stood as a towering enigma in the story of humankind. From the first hieroglyphs etched into limestone to the colossal grandeur of the Giza pyramids, Egypt's legacy seems almost otherworldly. How did a civilization over 5,000 years ago master astronomy, architecture, medicine, and spiritual philosophy on a scale so advanced it still defies modern understanding? The Nile River, winding like a living serpent through the desert, was their lifeblood. But even with temples, obelisks, and treasures unearthed for over 2 centuries, one core question was never truly answered. Where did these people come from? Classical historians like Herodotus marveled at their uniqueness. Geneticists and anthropologists debated endlessly. Were they native to Africa? Descendants of Mesopotamians? Migrants from the Levant? Or something else entirely? An ancient hybrid of civilizations lost to time. Tomb after tomb revealed beauty, complexity, and ritual. But origins? Only shadows. The mystery grew deeper with every discovery. How could a people so advanced seem to appear almost overnight? Could it be that the true beginning of ancient Egypt wasn't in Egypt at all, but somewhere far beyond the desert horizon? This is not just a question of archaeology. It is a question of identity, of ancestry, of truth long buried under dynasties of silence. It began not in a lab, nor in a university, but in the forgotten corridor of a temple buried beneath layers of sand in Saqqara. A place so ancient, even the oldest dynasties called it sacred. In 2018, during a restoration of a collapsed tomb shaft, archaeologists stumbled upon a sealed chamber untouched by looters or time. Inside, lying in complete darkness for over 4,000 years, was a linen-wrapped mummy, different from the others. The inscriptions surrounding it made no mention of a known pharaoh or noble lineage. Instead, there were strange references to the people before kings and the blood that walked from the Red Lands. But what made this mummy truly exceptional was its preservation. The tissues, nails, and even strands of hair remained remarkably intact. For the first time, researchers had a near-perfect biological specimen predating the Old Kingdom, with a potential genetic code untouched by modern hands. The Egyptian authorities, cautious and secretive, authorized a covert extraction of DNA under strict conditions. A single tooth was removed, nothing more. But inside that tooth, sealed away for millennia, was the first whisper of truth, the first sequence of ancient Egyptian DNA that could finally speak without words. Scientists knew they were holding a key. What they didn't know was that it would open a door no one was prepared to walk through. The extracted tooth was flown under military escort to a top-tier genetic lab in Switzerland, far from the media, far from politics. There, in a sterile room lined with cryogenic freezers and DNA sequencers, a hand-picked team of molecular biologists, archaeogeneticists, and forensic analysts began the process. They knew the stakes. One wrong move, one contaminant, and 4,000 years of silence would be lost forever. The outer layer of the tooth was carefully shaved away. Ancient pulp, still preserved deep within, was isolated in a vacuum-sealed chamber. Using next-generation sequencing and advanced decontamination protocols, the team extracted the full mitochondrial genome. But as the data emerged on their screens, the room fell silent. The DNA did not match the expected North African or even Mediterranean profiles. It showed markers that led somewhere else, markers only seen in certain pre-Indo-European populations from the Caucasus and regions bordering ancient Anatolia, a lineage long considered extinct, or at least never associated with the Nile. Cross-referencing began. Hundreds of ancient genome databases were searched. Patterns started to form, patterns that connected the mummy not just to Egypt, but to distant lands from the cradle of early human civilization. But to confirm it, they needed more than one sample. The hunt was on. Teams were dispatched to other tombs, other museums, even old excavation records. The deeper they went, the clearer the picture became, and the more dangerous the truth appeared. By 2023, over a dozen mummies from different dynasties had been quietly tested. Some came from the Valley of the Kings, others from hidden crypts beneath Abydos and Karnak. Each sample underwent rigorous genomic sequencing, triple-blind reviewed, and verified against independent databases. The results were not only consistent, they were staggering. Across royal bloodlines, from pre-dynastic rulers to New Kingdom pharaohs, the same unique genetic markers emerged. Mitochondrial haplogroups traced not to the Nile Delta or Nubia, but to regions near modern-day Armenia, Georgia, and eastern Anatolia. This wasn't an outlier, it was a pattern, an ancestral fingerprint. The ancient Egyptians, or at least their ruling elite, carried genes from a people who migrated from the Caucasus Mountains over 7,000 years ago. These were not the people of the desert. They were highlanders, farmers, astronomers. Their DNA carried signatures linked to early Neolithic civilizations that vanished before the first pyramids were even conceived. And when cross-referenced with ancient Mesopotamian samples, something even more explosive appeared. A genetic corridor, stretching from the Fertile Crescent, through the Levant, and directly into early Egypt. The myth of isolated development had just collapsed. Egypt was not a lone miracle. It was part of a much older, much broader human movement, a forgotten diaspora, one that rewrote the very origin of the pharaohs. The data was irrefutable. But if it was true, why had no one revealed it before? Imagine a time over 9,000 years ago when glaciers were retreating and the Earth's climate was shifting violently. In the highlands of the Caucasus, a once thriving society faced famine, floods, and seismic upheavals. With their crops failing and skies darkening, entire clans began to migrate south, first through the Zagros Mountains, then into the lush valleys of Mesopotamia. They brought with them the seeds of civilization, advanced farming techniques, early metallurgy, sacred astronomy, and complex burial rituals. But their journey didn't end there. As the Euphrates twisted into the Levant, Some groups turned west, settling in what is now modern-day Israel and Jordan. Others moved further still, crossing the Sinai Peninsula into the fertile banks of the Nile. Here, something extraordinary happened. They encountered indigenous communities, nomadic tribes, river dwellers, hunter-gatherers, and rather than conquer, they fused. A blending of blood, belief, and brilliance gave birth to the first true Nile culture. The early rulers, those buried without names but surrounded by astronomical symbols and obsidian tools, were likely descendants of this merger. As centuries passed, the memory of their origin faded into myth, preserved only in cryptic references carved into temple walls. Those who came from the Red Mountains, or the seed of stars from the east. These were not metaphors. They were forgotten history. And now, with the map of ancient DNA, we can finally walk their path, step by step, gene by gene. The revelation shook the very foundations of Egyptology. The idea that the blood of pharaohs flowed from mountains far beyond the Nile challenged more than academic consensus. It challenged national myths, historical pride, and the narrative of a self-contained civilization. Yet, the DNA doesn't lie. Beneath the gold masks and sun-soaked temples, Egypt's ruling class bore genetic echoes of forgotten migrants, carriers of lost knowledge, survivors of an ancient climate collapse, architects of a new world. This discovery doesn't diminish Egypt. It elevates it. It connects it to a larger story of human resilience and adaptation, a story where cultures collided, mixed, and birthed something entirely new, something eternal. But perhaps the most haunting truth is this. If Egypt's origins were hidden in DNA for over 5,000 years, how many other ancient stories remain locked inside the bones of history? How many secrets lie buried beneath our feet, waiting for science to give them voice? The sands may cover them, but time, relentless and precise, will eventually reveal all. What else are we not being told? What else have we yet to discover? If this mystery captivated you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more revelations buried deep in the past. And if you think this story ends here, think again. There are more ancient truths still hidden, in blood, in bones, and in the silence of time.